Steve Domenico in the Room podcast with Jessy, the Widowmaker, Miele, 9-3 featherweight women's MMA professional, calling in to talk to us about the quarantine, COVID-19, what she's been doing to keep busy and how she manages to stay ready. And so, Jessy, thank you so much for coming on. How's everything going?
It's going. It is what it is. It's a first experience for me, so it's very different, but it's one day at a time, right?
Exactly. Like I said, we're kind of all stored away. Gyms have been really affected by this whole quarantine, this whole lockdown. They seem to be some of the last small businesses that are going to be allowed to open. Just today announced in Connecticut and Rhode Island, gyms won't be allowed to open until basically the end of June. What's your thought on that? And, how have you been coping with it as far as, being an active fighter and rising through the ranks here in the MMA world?
It's been difficult. Everybody is different. There are some people who they thrive when they're at home and they can do their workouts and they can make their meals because they maybe in the past before this had to go into their offices and travel for work and for their gym. So maybe for them it's like it's working and they're losing weight and they're keeping going. And then there's some of us that just are like we want to be around other people, especially with the martial arts related athletes. There's only so much I can do. My boyfriend is a music producer, and he'll play music and I'll do my shadow boxing and my wrestling shots, but I don't have that interaction with another human body of sparring and, actually feeling their body. So it's very hard in that sense. I mean, I do miss that aspect of it and I really need that aspect of it, I feel like. So that's been really rough for me, but so one day at a time.
So you haven't trained with anyone physically since the lockdown,
Somewhat, but not. There's a couple things just without getting in trouble.
No, go ahead.
Well, from the perspective of jiu-jitsu, it's very difficult because you're definitely sweating on people and there's no way you can I don't even know if I could wear a mask if someone's already on top of me, mounting me and trying to choke me. It's not going to be possible. So there's some things that, we do want to be cautious because it's not even necessarily me. Like I have no kids, I could go home, but I have a boyfriend and I don't want to get him sick and I don't want to, get my parents sick if I see them one day so it's like kind of been very hard to kind of work with that, but I do pad work a little bit here and there with one of my coaches. I go on runs. We do sometimes we'll do, my friend lives on a lake, we'll do different things by the lake, or we're planning on maybe going swimming in the lake in the future. I come home to my house and literally go through the basement and throw all my clothes in the laundry and go right up to shower before I even interact with anyone in the house. So just trying to take more precautions that I wouldn't have necessarily.
So it's very real to you, and you are definitely embracing the social distance and staying, protecting yourself and other people around. So great for you. As far as what you thinking as far as when you might be able to train with other people, when you may be able to, because, Jessy, fights are starting to come up. We got the UFC that just had 3 cards last week. You are signed to Bellator. You have 1 fight under them. You had another one scheduled in March that we'll talk about. But, you need to stay ready. I know there are other fighters in the same predicament, not be able to do jiu-jitsu. But when do you think you can actually start, interacting with other fighters and getting that work in that's, desperately needed to stay, top level?
I guess in the past, when you think about you're only as good as how much you train and how much you work. So if other people that I'm fighting are training, maybe they have a husband that's in martial arts and they're training every single day and they're working harder than me, then that's not going to be good for me. I want to make sure that I'm doing just as much as I can, but I also have to trust, my coaches, my manager to give me the right advice. If it is in the future that I could maybe have one or 2 training partners that we could, work together and make sure everything is very clean and, it's very iffy, I don't want to, like I said, get anybody else sick. I have training partners who have children and they have some other underlying, diseases and things like that, not disease, but they have issues like that. You don't want that. I don't want to put my training partner at risk and then him go and bring something back, just in case. And then the whole cross training thing is also very, very confusing because I train at 3-4 different gyms. So you're constantly interacting, not only in martial arts, but touching just barbells and other things. So that's another thing. Maybe it's I only go to one gym and train with one person for preparation, but I want to be ready. I don't want Bellator to call me and say, hey, are you ready to fight next week? And I'm like, I'm not on weight. I want to make sure, at least the one thing I can do is stay home and focus on my strength and conditioning, my shadow boxing, my personal responsibility on making sure that my martial arts, all the little things are up to par, and being ready for that call and not being like 20, 30 pounds over, which I've never been 30 pounds over, but I don't want to get there.
Well, are you staying? I mean, you have a huge gym. You have a lot of successful fighters coming out of that gym. Underdog, a big MMA gym there with Russell Leak. You got Matt Bissett, who just recaptured the CES featherweight title. You got Johnny, Mr. Nice Guy there. A ton of other young talent coming out of there. How are you keeping, up with them guys? I know, gyms are families, and you develop bonds there, and you see these people every day. Sometimes you see them longer than you see your family. How are you guys staying in touch, and are you guys kind of picking each other's brain and just staying as a group?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, I train at a couple different gyms. So there's a lot of these online, the Zoom meetings, which are great. People are putting them out there. I do work from a computer already all day long, so it's been hard for me to go onto a Zoom meeting and do a workout when I'm already online all day. But we've been doing some like Friday night, even just like a happy hour where people talk about what's going on, and it's just little chats with the IMB guys. A lot of the, like I said, the Underdog guys, they have their Zoom updates of like classes. The kids classes have been great. I've been seeing a lot of posts about the kids classes at all the gyms. A couple of my friends also will make food. Even if we're not together, I might make food, they might make food, and we'll exchange, because it's been hard. Like even when you order out now, and try to get something healthy, it's like it's just hard. You don't know what to do, and being an athlete, sometimes it gets boring. Chicken and broccoli every night is kind of boring. So when someone, even if it's chicken and broccoli that you made, someone else made, it just tastes better because someone else made it. So some things like that, even just doing little things like what I was saying before too, like going on a run maybe with somebody, but like we're still kind of distanced. We're not like interacting too much. So that's been helpful for keeping in touch and at least talking to people, but still rough.
Yeah. Now let's talk about your rise to your Bellator, your contract, because I understand you're signed 3 fights. You already have 1 under them, but let's talk about the opportunity and finally getting the opportunity to fight for the big guys. Not that CES wasn't, and you have 2 big wins for them. But what was the feeling like when Bellator came calling and you got that first fight with them?
It was awesome. I worked really hard to get here. My Coach Chris Smith and then Russell have helped guide me to get to this position. And there was times, when I first started fighting years ago, I was like, why isn't Bellator calling me? There's people that are 1-0 getting the call. So time and place, it was like I needed to keep getting fights under my belt. I need to keep pushing. And the other thing was like the mental training, which I'm also really trying to focus on now, being like mentally training, mentally strong, trying to find watching footage and trying to break fights down. Like that's all we can really do if we can't go and spar with people, but we can still break people down and look at that kind of aspect. So that had helped me too. And just being so diverse and well-rounded in every area of the fights, I was walking in there, I was just ready. People were even saying, are you nervous? It's Bellator. I'm like, it's Mohegan Sun. I've been there with reality. It's the same area. It's the same kind of people. I mean, my friends and my family, it's awesome. I've already lost my very first pro fight. I lost in 12 seconds. I just kind of ran in there too fast. So I'm not even worried about that. So it is what it is. I'm here and I'm ready. So I just was very excited to just have my chance. So, and I'm in the 145-pound division with Chris Cyborg is in my division. The best of the best are in my division. This is where I wanted to be, So.
And what a position they put you in. Your first fight for Bellator, and you're fighting a former title challenger and a world champion grappler, BJJ practitioner there. What was that for? Was that more of a treat, knowing that your first fight you were going against someone of that caliber? Because Jess, you've been at it a long time. You fought some really, really tough caliber fighters yourself. You're on a 4-fight winning streak. Did it matter who they put in front of you at that point when you entered that Bellator cage?
You know what? I think it's crazy because a lot of my very first, even my amateur fights, footage, something broke, something wasn't out there, this didn't happen. All my jiu-jitsu, it's somewhere. But I have fought, world champions in jiu-jitsu in the IBJJF, and I have beat them. And it's just, so it's all about the stats that people say. But for me, it was like the time, all the training that I did, the mental training with Chris, the physical training that I, even with like the pad work and things I've done with Russell, just everything was coming together. So it didn't really matter who they put in front of me. I was just going to go in there and give it my all and do my thing.
Awesome. Well, you were scheduled to fight in March 13th, Friday the 13th, I do believe. It was a hell of a week, Jess. I mean, the fights are going, like, things were dropping out. Gyms are starting to close. Gyms that you would never think of closing. Your gym, like, we're closing for a couple of weeks. What was going through your mind that week? I mean, it seemed like everything was gonna happen. Things were changing by the minute, but it seemed like, we were going to have an event on Friday night. What was going through your mind that week, getting ready for that fight and still cutting weight because you had to get the weigh-ins?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, nothing changed. I did all the same things I would have done, the same way I would have done if nothing related to COVID-19 was happening in general. I was cutting weight the way I was supposed to. I was making weight the way I was supposed to. I was, warming up the way I was supposed to the day of. I got my hair braided the way I was supposed to so I could keep it behind me when I was getting in that fight. And I even went and got my dinner or lunch or whatever before the fight. And that's when it kind of like started to get the whole like text messages from random people like, hey, I think, oh my God, hey. And I'm like, until I hear it from like someone like Bellator specific person in my face, I'm just going to continue to stay mentally focused and mentally ready. Because that's the biggest thing is I think anybody can really be physically ready, but it's the mental aspect and the mental part that really separates the best fighters from, the ones that are just good enough. So I was just trying to stay there. And then, we got the word and I was like, oh, okay. So it's official now.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, and you talking to you early in the interview, you're very responsible, and you take things that are serious, and you're very responsible with it. So I'm sure you realize the real urgency of the matter for the fights not to go through. As far as like other fighters there, did you? I mean, I'm sure you guys spent the night, or did you go back home that night? Like what went on that night when the fights were canceled?
Actually, it was interesting. We did spend the night. A lot of people, we were all like pretty disappointed. I think actually I saw Leslie Smith in the hotel room and she was like, May, let's do it. And I'm like, I'm down, let's do it. Like, well, I'll be ready for May.
Yeah.
Because I think it's supposed to be in either San Diego or LA in May in theory. But I was like, I'm still, nothing's changing, but I think disappointment in a way, like we wanted to fight, but also like, you can't be like angry with Bellator being responsible to like not let us get sick and let other anybody, just even a person that works there that happens to interact with somebody could be sick from it or get sick from it and pass away or die, and we don't want to have that happen. So it was hard to be mad. There was like a fire drill or something in the morning. The next day, when we were down to I'm like, what is going on? So maybe the 13th into the 14th.
Here come the locust. Where's the locust?
I'm like, oh my God.
Freaking crazy. So. Yeah. You spoke about Leslie Smith and, the fight happened later. Well, here we are. We don't know when Bellator is going to reschedule these fights and when you're going to get your next, your next event there. But is this a fight that you think is going to happen, the next matchup for you, or you think things can change with, the timing and everything going on?
Yeah, I think, if they were to call me and say, hey, you want to fight Leslie Smith again in like July, let's say, I'm not sure if they're allowed to, let's say July, June. Yeah. 100%. I don't know if that would change for her. I don't know if she has family or somebody that's sick or she would be sick. And then that's the other thing too, is I'm sure they have to go through a ton of different testing measures and there's a lot to put in place, but I don't see myself saying no to it. It's not, like I said, like it sucks that I can't spar or get in the gym and interact with people. I like that, but I'm not like, if I stopped fighting for like a couple of months, I'm not going to like all of a sudden suck horribly and like not remember how to fight. Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure it'll still, keep, like I said, stay mentally strong, keep everything I can do what I can. And, don't be like super like gain a whole bunch of weight. So you're not like on weight, because that would suck too.
Well, your last 4 fights, Jess, it doesn't look like you're slowing down at all. It looks like you're getting better and better every fight, especially that last one, going against a world champion BJJ fighter there, beating her at her own game, and then, also a former title challenger. So last thing, Jess, before I let you go, shout outs to whoever you want to shout out to, social media, and I'll give you the last thing you want to say before I let you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to shout out like everybody who sponsored me. I have a lot of friends and family locally, and I know that like my sister, her husband, Steve, the Petracas and the Fat Bastard Bike Crew, like, you know, they've had a loss recently from somebody who died from COVID. So anybody who has been struggling, that if I can do anything, I would like them to please reach out to me so I can help in any way. Even just putting on my social media that they need help, like whatever I can do with that. But all the people that have sponsored me, I'm just really thankful to have them. Even like I said, mainly like the local people who have come out to the fights and supported me. That was really great of them. And then my social media, all of my handles have my name in it. I think my Facebook is just Jessy.Miele, Jessy.Miele.1, or Jessy Miele MMA for my Facebook page. My Twitter is @JessyMiele, and the Instagram is just JessyMiele_MMA. So.
Awesome. Well, Jessy, thanks for checking in with me. Let's do it again as soon as we find out when that next opportunity comes along, and we'll talk about it. And hopefully it's with Leslie again, because she is a great competitor, and you take her out and you're looking damn good in Bellator's eyes.
Yeah, hey, I'd love to fight Leslie. I'd also love to fight anybody and then send me overseas. That'd be great too, because I've never been overseas. So, if they want to do that, I'm all for it. I'll get my face mask.
There you go. She's ready to go.